Yesterday, Ford Motor Company reported their earnings, and things do not look good. And if I was a betting person, I would be willing to bet that this will not be the only poor earnings report that we see out of the automotive industry in the coming weeks. So as you guys know, Ford, along with other automotive companies, have been reporting record-breaking quarter after quarter over the entirety of 2021 and most of 2022. This was due entirely because of the inflated car market that we saw throughout the last 2 years and the inflated prices that went along with it. And as we've talked about on this channel many times, the inflated car market was due to a perfect storm of events caused by the pandemic, which included extreme supply chain issues, chip shortages, low interest rates, stimulus payments, as well as an overall positive economic outlook. This created a huge problem where there were tons of buyers for cars, but there simply weren't enough cars to buy. This paired with the fact that over the last couple of years, Ford, along with other automotive brands, have stopped production on their cheaper, lower margin vehicles and instead are focusing on their more expensive, higher margin ones. And because of all of these different factors, for a while there, it seemed as though Ford and these other automotive companies were on a wave that was never going to end. Even as recently as mid-2022, things were looking really strong. But that wave, as of Q4 of 2022, has come to a screeching abrupt halt. Because in Ford's earnings release, it was announced that Ford missed not only Wall Street estimates, but also their own estimates that they outlined for the year. We can take a look at their earnings report here, and you can see that Ford's revenue reached $44 billion in Q4 of last year, while their 2022 revenue reached $158.1 billion. For the 2022 year, Ford reported net losses of $2 billion. When Ford went into details about these losses, they stated, "The results were below Ford's expectations, attributable in part to execution issues in an environment with supply chain and production instability, resulting in higher costs and lower than planned volumes." You can see the Ford balance sheet here, which shows that though Ford did have a worse than expected year, they're overall a healthy company and they have a lot of cash on hand, which honestly will come into handy whenever it comes to surviving the car market that we're currently heading into. You can see here that while Ford Automotive, which is the arm of Ford that actually creates and sells the vehicles, grew in revenue from 2021 to 2022, but what actually declined was Ford Credit, which is Ford's lending arm. This is really interesting and, to be honest, not a surprise at all, because as the economy is worsening and as interest rates are rising, not only is it more expensive to borrow money and thus there's less of an incentive to do so, but it also means that these lenders have to be more strict with who they choose to lend money out to. This means that they're giving out less loans, which means they're making less money. This is why Ford Credit revenue ended up declining this year, and we've been seeing something very similar with other companies like Ally Financial, GM, or even the channel favorite Carvana. Of course, the act of selling cars has become a big issue for automotive companies in the last 6 months. But another big issue has been the business of loaning people money so that they can actually purchase these cars. And as a result, financial institutions and financial arms like Ford Credit are making less money in 2022 than they did in 2021, and chances are they will make even less in 2023. And we have to remember that this decline in revenue is only taking into account the current market conditions. This isn't even taking into consideration that there's an accelerating threat of repossessions, loan delinquencies, and more, thus putting the automotive industry and institutions associated with it at more and more financial risk. I will include the full Ford earnings report in the description of this video. It's very interesting and, in my opinion, foreshadows what we will continue to see from other companies for not only the fourth quarter of 2022, but also for the foreseeable quarters as we head deeper into 2023. As I'm recording this video, the Ford stock has started to react to these soft earnings, and as a result, it's down about 10% in pre-market. And over the last year, Ford is down 35%. With these lower than expected earnings, Ford is already bracing shareholders for a softer year in 2023 compared to 2022, and it's going to be significantly softer than what we saw back in 2021. Because there are a few key things that are happening right now as we speak that are having a huge impact on not only Ford, other automotive manufacturers, but the entire automotive industry as a whole. The first factor is that car prices are crashing. Car prices have fallen between 10 and 15% year to date, and this is just the beginning. Cars are depreciating at an accelerated rate due to a decrease in demand, an increase in supply, and overall market conditions that have shifted. This is leaving dealerships with not only less cars to sell because of that decrease in demand, but it's also leaving dealerships with a lower profit margin off of those cars. There are many dealerships out there that purchased vehicles back in, say, August, September, October, and they paid a premium price for those cars. So whenever it comes to selling those cars today in 2023, they're very hesitant to do so because they worry about losing money. I spend so much time looking at dealership websites, looking for used cars that are for sale, and I cannot tell you how many times I come across cars that have been sitting at dealership lots since the beginning of fall or even the end of summer of 2022. There are thousands of them throughout the entire country, and this is having a massive impact on the entire automotive industry. Dealerships are leery about selling cars that they overpaid for, so they're currently still in a phase where they're holding on to those cars. But at some point in time, probably sooner than later, these dealerships are going to be forced to sell those cars, even if they have to do so for a loss. And as a result, this is going to trickle down to the rest of the car market. And while I know the immediate effect of this is really only towards the used car market, there is absolutely a trickle-down effect that will have an impact on not only used cars, used car dealerships, but also automotive manufacturers like Ford. The second factor is the economy, interest rates, and overall consumer sentiment. The cost of living is going up, interest rates are rising, and it not only costs more to borrow money to buy a car, but it also makes less financial sense to do so. Financial services is a huge revenue generator for brands like Ford, and not being able to take advantage of this like they did throughout 2021 and 2022, it hurts. And last but not least is the impending price war on electric vehicles. Now, this isn't a killer and it certainly isn't set in stone. It is just a theory that's circulating around. But as you guys know, last month, Tesla slashed the prices of all of their electric vehicle models. In response to that, just this week, Ford announced that they would be cutting down the price of their Ford Mach-E, which is currently one of Ford's most popular electric vehicles, and it's also an extremely close competitor to the Tesla Model Y. This has left a lot of people wondering of what electric vehicle company will follow next. In fact, just a couple of days ago, Rivian announced that they would be laying off 6% of their workforce, and whenever they gave a reason for the layoffs, they stated that they wanted to reserve as much cash as possible. And the general interpretation of this statement is that Rivian may in fact be gearing for some price cuts as well. The evidence suggests that profit margin on electric vehicles may be going down in the near future. And what this means for the electric vehicle industry and the manufacturers that produce them, well, we'll just have to wait and see. At the end of the day, Ford isn't going bankrupt anytime soon, if ever. And Ford will be able to weather this automotive storm with minimal long-term damage. But what this earnings report does tell us is that there is absolutely a shift happening in the automotive space. It's not coming, it is here. Used car prices are falling and the power is shifting from the hands of the auto manufacturer to the hands of the consumer. And this is something that I know I am very, very excited about. But with that being said, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And I'll see you guys in the next video.